I'm MarzGurl.
And I'm JoshKnightTheFirst.
And welcome to episode 16 of MokkoriPlay, the only podcast dedicated solely to all things City Hunter.
On today's podcast, we're going to cover episode 16 of City Hunter, titled One Frisky Flight Attendant, The Tale of Instructor Rio.
To those of you who waited a little later in the week, thank you for waiting just a little while longer to get this particular episode of the podcast. We really appreciate it. Would you believe it was just because of the arm that holds the microphone, and not because of the microphone itself?
The microphone's great.
Microphone's just fine. It really sucks when the arm can no longer hold the microphone, and then what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do with that?
We can't just hold it. It would sound terrible.
That would be really, really bad. But we're here now, so thanks.
But we should tell you guys ahead of time, the title says Instructor Rio. He only instructs for like a minute in this episode. Just 1 minute.
Yeah, I wasn't actually really sure where the instructor part was, and now I'm remembering. Oh, he did like 2 seconds of judo? Yeah. He does.
It'll come up for a second.
It's like 2 seconds of judo.
So it's not inaccurate, it's just a stretch.
Yeah.
So, we'll go ahead and get into it. Our client for the week is a flight attendant by the name of Chiemi, who we find out is an old schoolmate of Kaori.
It's a classmate. The word you're looking for is classmate.
You can also use schoolmate. That's also proper English.
How dare you?
Anyway, so right away we see that Chiemi is just starting out her career as a flight attendant, and she's already become very popular with a set of, I guess she's already got her own group of otaku. Like, I've seen idol otaku, I've seen actress and K-pop otaku.
She's got flight attendant groupies.
Yes.
Is what she's got.
Which is amazing. In such a short amount of time. Apparently, she hasn't been on the job all that long, but she's already got a core group of like 15 to 20 dedicated men of varying ages.
Who are more than willing to just get on flights wherever she goes, I guess. Or they're just like really happy to see her return from a flight, and they swamp her as soon as she comes back from the airport, which, by the way, remember when you could do that in airports?
Oh, go all the way up to the gate?
Yeah, remember when you could just greet somebody at the gate or walk somebody all the way up to their gate?
See, I actually don't remember that. I only ever got on a flight once before they changed all those rules. Or no, not even then. It was after that. No, I've never known what that is like.
Yeah, I walked my dad all the way up to the gate once at the San Antonio International Airport, so yeah, that happened.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't start flying until I was 18, and that was 2003, so dating myself a bit there, but yeah, I do not know what that was like.
Man, quite the swing and a miss for you. You missed out on exactly what flying was like before hell happened.
Yes,
yeah.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Now, for what it's worth, Chiemi does seem to be the kind of person who would have quite a following. She seems to have a bright, bubbly personality, gets along with everybody, and is very, very overly trusting.
A little naive. So, we're looking at two dudes who are kind of watching her from around the corner like, hey, we gotta get this bag off of this flight attendant. And she's got this adorable little keychain that also looks like a really goofy, adorable looking flight attendant. It's really weird.
It does kind of look like her a little bit.
It's kind of ugly, but also kind of cute. I don't know. Anyway, hey, there's the girl with the bag. It's got the key ring on it, and it's dangling off the bag. All right, let's go get it. But they can't get to her through her groupies.
The throng of otaku is holding them back, and they're like, we'll try again later. And once she goes to change out of her flight attendant uniform, she decides to check her bag and find it's full of hot Rolexes.
You know, some guy in Japan tried to sell me a bunch of hot Rolexes once.
Oh, you want to tell that story?
No. That guy was extremely offensive, and the person I was walking next to after he tried to share his Rolexes with us asked, what did he just ask? It was offensive. I'm just gonna say, like, he ended it with an offensive statement, and then he walked away.
Well, thankfully there were no offensive statements here, just a bag of hot Rolexes.
Yeah.
Or a box of hot Rolexes that somehow made its way into her bag.
Somebody slipped it into this bag.
Right. So, thankfully, she knew enough to call her friend Kaori, who for some reason she thought could handle this situation. I don't know if Kaori has explained to Chiemi what kind of business she's in now.
I don't know if she thought that Kaori was gonna handle it, or if she thought, well, I just need to talk to somebody about this. I'm gonna talk to my old friend Kaori, who's here in town. You know, I don't think she really thought she was gonna do something.
And just to get on that for a second, so we do see that there's a conversation between Chiemi and Kaori about, hey, hey, I've got a problem. Can we meet up somewhere to talk about it? Kaori is wearing what I call the Rocco shirt. That looks like Rocco's Modern Life borrowed the design of this shirt for later on in the 90s.
I'm very much reminded of, I need to look something up super fast. Okay, Judy Shepard Missett, who like, was the star of Jazzercise.
The inventor of Jazzercise?
Founder of Jazzercise,
Okay.
okay? And I remember at the end of this one particular Jazzercise workout tape that my mom had, like, you get to the end of it and she's advertising for lean cuisine, and she's in a shirt like this. It's this weird button down, and she's got the short hair. She looks like Kaori, Josh.
You're gonna have to show me a picture of this at some point.
That particular VHS tape, somebody put it up on YouTube, so I will
we're gonna go verify this later.
100% show you.
Okay, when we post this to Twitter that the episode is up, you better find a screenshot of this so we can say, hey, look everybody, it's Kaori.
Well, I mean, just the fact that I'm mentioning Jazzercise at all should tell you, oh yeah, the 80s.
The 80s,
Okay,
yes.
yeah, that's what people looked like, okay?
I mean, truthfully, yes, they did.
Yes.
So Kaori gets off the phone. She sees that Ryo is within earshot and says, okay, we're not going to meet here. Let's meet up in Roppongi. You know the place. You know, we've been there before. And as soon as she gets off the phone, Ryo's like, hey, who dat?
Hey, Chiemi, that's a girl's name, right?
Like, who that is? Is she hot?
As he's, like, really sleepily fixing himself, what did I say, a tomato and an egg sandwich. Which, I mean, I guess some healthy people do weird things like that. I don't know.
I mean, it's not that unheard of.
Sounds gross to me. And I like both of those things.
Yeah, you like both of those things on different sandwiches.
Yeah, I would not necessarily put them together. Or if I did put them together, I would also add beef. I would put a beef patty. It would be a hamburger with eggs.
So you're talking about a cheeseburger with an egg on top with a slice of tomato.
Yeah, that'd be like, we gotta get the meat in there. Okay. So long as it's got the meat in there, then all those things can go together. But if you're just narrowing it down to just the tomato and the egg, I'm gonna be like, that's not enough.
We can assume it was a lean week for City Hunter. Maybe they didn't have access to beef that week.
Also, I think Ryo is fairly health conscious. He's got a body type that tells me he thinks about it sometimes.
Sometimes. We see very infrequently how often he either works out or is eating correctly. We know he's carbo and protein loading in a lot of episodes where we see him eating. He's just chowing down like most, shonen protagonists do.
But also, he's a dude who's at least in his late 20s, and surely his metabolism is
if not
slowing.
Early 30s.
Yeah, surely his metabolism is slowing down by now. So
Maybe.
No, I'm gonna say he can't be that invulnerable.
So Kaori decides to go ahead and meet up with Chiemi there in Roppongi. For whatever reason, she decided to take the Mini. I don't know why.
Yeah, Ryo didn't say, hey, that's my car, don't drive my car away.
Because we bothered to look it up this week, so every so often we talk about Kaori's car, and I guess we should go ahead and talk about it here. We know we've got the Mini.
Well, her car comes up later, but it's not being driven by her. But so we're kind of doing this early.
Yes.
We're discussing this part of the episode a little too early.
Well, just to put it out there. So specifically, Kaori's car is a 1988 Fiat Panda 1000cl MK2.
It's really boxy. It's a hatchback. It's shorter, kind of more snub-nosed than, say, most four-door sedans. So it's not too much bigger or smaller than the Mini Cooper.
It's comparable, but to me, when I was first looking at it, not really recognizing it was a Fiat, I thought it was a damn Geo Metro.
Yeah, I can see how you would have gotten there. But basically, we say this to say, lady's got her own car. Why is she taking Ryo's car?
Also, it's like, just because you took the Mini, like, I'm trying to spitball it here, maybe you thought that would slow Ryo down from getting to you? How many times has he caught up to you when you've tried to get away from him ever? This wasn't gonna help.
That's true.
So she meets up with Chiemi. They talk about the ill-gotten gains that have somehow made their way into her bag. Kaori comes to the conclusion that, well, you can't exactly go to the airport security to tell them what you found because they might think you were in on it somehow. So that's a bad idea. But at the same time, Kaori notices over in the corner of this restaurant that they're at, which I believe is called Dandy Lion, like 2 words.
Yeah, it's what it looked like to me.
We've got the 2 guys who have been following them sitting in the corner being very obvious, like, hey, don't look over there. We're gonna kidnap her in a bit.
So Kaori notices and is like, oh, hell no, we're gonna get the hell out of here. Drags Chiemi outside, and that's where we see the Mini Cooper, and I'm like, what? She took the Cooper? Why did she not drive her own vehicle? That didn't make any sense to me. But the dudes catch up to her. Thankfully, just like you said, Josh, Ryo just shows up.
So
I don't know how he does it.
I can only assume he hotwired the panda.
Maybe he teleported. I don't know.
No, I'm pretty sure he either made himself a key or he hotwired
Maybe
it.
he took the train. After all, he has to check the train station chalkboard in order to see whether or not they got jobs.
Well,
so maybe he took the train to Roppongi.
Well, you tell me. You're the expert between the 2 of us. Could you take the train from Shinjuku Station to Roppongi?
Yes.
And how long would that take?
Like 10, 15 minutes?
Okay, so if Ryo leaves Shinjuku Station traveling at a certain kilometers per hour, and Kaori is leaving from Roppongi... We're doing math now.
Kaori's not leaving Roppongi. She's nearly getting kidnapped in Roppongi, and then Ryo shows up to stop that from happening.
Okay, so solve for X.
X is Ryo showed up.
Damn, you're right.
and then he hit the dudes or something.
And he runs them off. And Chiemi doesn't seem to have as much of a problem with this because, again, she's a little on the simple side. And, like in a lot of episodes recently, she seems to think Ryo's pretty darn cute.
I mean, he is. She just doesn't know him.
Well, specifically, you see they drew him more handsome.
Well, they always do that when he's trying to pull the, hey, I'm a suave dude kind of a thing. So they give him a little bit more of that look of like
the chiseled jaw
of like Eric from The Little Mermaid.
Yeah. that same kind of suave 80s drawing of, hi there, I'm drawn like I talk like this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So they head back to Ryo's apartment where Kaori busts out with the official City Hunter mugs.
Coffee
matching
mugs, yeah.
Pink and blue City Hunter mugs that I wish they sold.
Well, I bet you somebody has made a bootleg version on Redbubble or something.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, I think I saw some on Redbubble.
Oh boy, give them to the pirates. Give that money to the pirates to get the City Hunter mugs. And mind you, it's not just that the word City Hunter is written out on the mug. It's like the logo, the official logo.
Well, you remember back in episode 1, Ryo had those monogrammed little calling cards that had the City Hunter logo on them.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine this is a holdover from back when Makimura had these mugs made up. Unless Kaori figured out...
He did merchandising too?
Maybe that's what was going on.
Is this how he got his name out? Like, hey, there's a job that only City Hunter can do, but you're not gonna know City Hunter exists except for when I give out these business cards, and we're gonna sell t-shirts and mugs, and...
Here's a complimentary towel. Like, they had a merch line planned, and unfortunately Makimura didn't see it through.
That's really sad.
That's rough. So Ryo goes ahead and checks the bag to see, okay, what's the big hubbub about? Of course, the first thing he finds isn't the watches, it's Chiemi's panties.
She doesn't seem to have much of a problem with it. In fact, even Kaori doesn't. Really, they don't actually see him.
Because he's kind of got his back to them, and he's like, hey, careful, these might be explosives. And they're like, oh, crap. Which makes sense because when he actually finds what's going on with the bag, so we have the watches, and we've got a remote control of some kind, which apparently if you turn the knob on it all the way up, the watches are...
It's not even a knob.
Or the little button.
It's more than a button. It's more like the ColecoVision controller that has an entire ass keypad on it. So you go beep bop boop boop boop, and then the watch sparks out, and it holds a charge, right? So initially he thinks he's like exploded this watch, which really it just kind of blew a hole through this underwear. But then he's like, nah, check this out, and then takes the plug of a lamp and just touches it to the back of this watch, and so the lamp is like drawing electricity off of this watch, and he's like, well, watch when I beep beep bop boop boop, and when he beep beep bop boop boops, then shabams, then the lamp just kabooms, and
that's so much onomatopoeia out of you. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
So basically basically this thing acts like a mini, like, defibrillator, like the chest paddles. This thing holds enough charge to essentially kill somebody if they're wearing the watch. So this is some kind of assassination item that has been stuffed into Chiemi's bag.
Right.
So if she is found with this, yeah, she's gonna have to answer some questions she does not know the answers to. So Ryo decides, no, it's okay, I will take care of this, but the first thing I have to do before we actually defend you from whoever these two guys are, I have to teach you how to defend yourself, which means I gotta touch your boobs. So he's trying to do all these judo moves on her, and Chiemi is none the wiser, and Kaori kind of lets it happen because Chiemi actually is pretty good at defending herself.
Yeah, thankfully, after the boob grab, Chiemi was able to do a hiya with the elbow into the gut, and Ryo was like, yeah, do some of that. That would be a pretty good idea. The whole episode, she never needs to use it.
No, never comes up once.
No. The whole him being a teacher of any sort is just, I don't know why.
He taught like 2 moves.
I don't know why the title references it at all, quite frankly.
It should have just been one frisky flight attendant.
Yeah, but okay, the titles of the episodes have like this thing where it's like top line here, also there's a bottom line. Those are the titles of the episodes.
So after that goes the way you figure it would go, you know, she hits Ryo in the stomach. Kaori decides, no, I'll take care of her. We're going to go check into this hotel. It's going to be fine. You just stay here. And even while they're at the hotel, we see the 2 guys who are following them staked out outside. And I'm wondering about the translation here because one of them says, all right, let's go get him. Nah, man, slow your roll.
Yeah, like that's a decision I would not have made if only because think about the 80s. You know, we weren't saying slow your roll yet. I'm gonna do a quick Google search. When did we start saying slow your roll?
I imagine the mid-90s, if I'm not mistaken. So apparently, looking into it a little bit, it is a phrasing that has been around for a while. I just know in circles I ran with, I didn't hear it all that much until the mid-90s.
I don't think slow your roll was especially popularized in the 80s. So maybe somebody was using it, but I don't think it was common enough that I would have chosen that.
Would it have been any better if they had said something like, I don't know, cool your jets?
Yeah, maybe cool your jets. Yeah, that sounds 80s. Cool your jets. Yeah.
I don't know. See,
also sounds 60s, but I don't know.
Late 50s.
Like, but those guys, man. But those 2 dudes are kind of old, so.
Okay, so maybe it works out then.
Yeah.
So now that they're back at Chiemi's hotel room, Chiemi's kind of going over with Kaori. So why is it you're the one protecting me and not Ryo? Is he a deviant? And Kaori kind of defends him for a second, like, no, he's not a deviant, but you're pretty close.
You know what? Now that I think about it for a second, actually, yeah, maybe.
Like, I don't know why she wouldn't throw him under the bus right there.
Because there's a part of her that doesn't want to, but then there's a part of her that really wants to. She's got a little bit of back and forth.
There is conflict within her.
Yeah.
So we have our 2 guys report back to their smuggling, trafficking boss, who we only ever see in one scene, and he's kind of got that Shinto priest style of talking. You know, like, please watch out for the guy who's watching you guys and messed you guys up.
Wait, who is this? Oh, they're their boss, right.
It's so forgettable because he's only in the one scene.
Yeah, he's only there to deliver those lines like, get the watches back, you guys. You don't want to have our whole cover blown. That would be bad. All right, bye. And then he's gone.
And we don't even get the guy's name.
No, I
so
guess
it's like,
we don't.
Why did you even put him there?
I don't know. The show is more about our leading characters than it really is about the people trying to get our leading characters.
But enough of that. Let's go ahead and get to the sexy stuff. So once we go back to the hotel room that they're staying in, we have a shower scene with Chiemi there. We actually get nipple.
Yeah, full-on boobs. Yeah, not covered up by any fog or anything. Any heat clouds.
Usually we get that in this show, but not this time.
No, I think this only happens a grand total of twice throughout the whole series.
I guess this would be the first time?
This would be the first one, yeah.
Okay.
And the second one isn't until, like, the last season.
So Chiemi gets out of the bath, and unfortunately, Kaori has stationed herself in the room adjacent because they made it up to look like they're staying in that room. So when she comes back into the room they actually are in, Ryo has already found found his way in without alerting Kaori and has champagne at the ready.
Of course he does. This is exactly what his goal has been this entire time.
And he's trying to put the moves on Chiemi. I don't think she even realizes that's what he's there for.
She's just a little too assuming and trusting, that's all.
And he's there, like, obviously trying to ogle her, and at least she's got the wherewithal to ask, are you trying to look at something?
I don't even think she's teasing him. I think she's genuinely asking, like, hey, what are you looking for? I don't know where you're going.
Now, mind you, she's drawn very curvy, and she's only there in a towel.
Right.
And she's kind of spilling out of the towel a little bit there. So Ryo has a lot to work with, so to speak. So much so that he's commenting on the Mokkori out loud, and she's like, Mokkori, what is that?
Well, no, she asked that way back during the judo.
And she's asking again here. What is this Mokkori thing? And he says, oh, no, it's something related to broccoli. That's what that is.
Oh, I do remember. Yeah. Yes, Mokkori, because it sounds like broccoli.
Broccoli.
Sure. That's exactly it.
The bottom line is she bought it.
Or he just spoke so fast that she just kind of decided to forget about it and just move on.
Now, while they're there having their sippy sip, the two guys bust into the other room that Kaori is in, hidden in the closet, and I don't know what exactly her plan was, because they go in, they find the watches, they find the bag with the watches and the remote in it.
Well, her plan was to jump out of the closet and hit them with a baseball bat. That was her plan.
Yeah, but when they had their backs turned, she was still in the closet. Like, she didn't actually get the jump on them. They found her.
Yeah, she's not good at this, Josh. I don't know, like, you're asking this question as though you think, oh, she had some other grand plan that she just didn't get to execute. No, she's not good at her job.
I mean, admittedly, yeah, she's only armed with a bat and this kind of, like, duck-looking helmet, which looks too cute on her. Like, oh, I can't take you like, you're trying to hit me with the bat.
It's like a young kid first learning how to ride a bicycle, and you bought them one of those helmets from the toy section in Walmart that's got, like, the purple monster spikes, but it also has googly eyes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they grab the watches, and they grab Kaori. And
because Chiemi's like there, and they're like, well, we'll take you instead for the meantime.
Carry her over the shoulder. She manages to yell out to Chiemi, and both Chiemi and Ryo hear it, and they're like, oh no, Kaori's gone. We gotta go after her. And that's when we finally see
the panda.
The Fiat. And I'm like, so wait. You mean you guys swapped cars today? You just do that? Like,
I guess they must.
I mean, you're not in a relationship. It's not like both of those cars are your car, right? I'm pretty sure that Fiat is Kaori's car.
Because it's the only other car we see multiple times throughout the series around them.
And she's regularly the one that drives it.
Usually, yes.
Yeah. And he's driving Chiemi off in this Fiat. Why are you not driving your Mini Cooper, man? I don't understand. I'm so confused.
Like, did they leave the Mini somewhere? Is it getting maintenanced? Did you have to buy another one? Like, what's going on here? We don't understand.
I don't know.
But as they're giving chase, Ryo is trying to say, okay, we're going to figure out where she is. It's just going to take a second. And Chiemi is feeling a little bit guilty. Like, oh no, she's only in trouble because of me. I'll do anything to get her back. And Ryo's like, really, anything? Yes. Would you go on a date with me? Yes. To Paris? Yes. And do all this other stuff? Yes. Mokkori times? I don't know what that is, but yes.
I don't think he even asked that.
No, but that's where he was going.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, she really wants to get Kaori back, and so she agrees to everything, and then they go down and follow her.
Well, they're able to follow her because we're introduced to another thing that we see throughout the series, and apparently it's been established sometime before this episode, but this is the first time we're seeing it. Ryo has a tracking device in a piece of Kaori's clothing.
Which we don't see, like, that's not revealed until he's finally saved her. So this is kind of a jump already.
But he's got the tracking device there in the visor.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is something that we see that Ryo has put into place because, as he's kind of figured out, Kaori has a tendency to get kidnapped.
Yeah, a little bit of not super good writing, your main character lady, letting her get kidnapped as many times as she does. I mean, she's great and she's cool and she's funny and she can be capable, but she does get kidnapped, like, a lot. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's often enough that they had to write in a tracking device.
Yeah.
We put a bell on her. So we catch up to Kaori. The two guys have figured out that the bag is full of fake watches and just the TV remote from the hotel room. Good job on that. They tell her, we don't have what we need in the bag here. You're going to call the weird guy that was with with you. And Kaori picks up the phone and dials. Of course, nobody's at home.
Because Ryo's actually right here.
He's already here.
Starts knocking over boxes. All the boxes are full of wine. All the wine bottles hit the floor and they're shattering and there's wine everywhere. It's all red wine everywhere. And then they're like, haha, well, you're not gonna do anything else because now we've got Chiemi, because like Ryo had his back turned and wasn't paying attention to what Chiemi was doing, I guess.
And I guess some guy was just like, hey, Chiemi, can I hold you real quick with this gun? She was like, okay. And then now she's at gunpoint. So Ryo chucks one of the bottles of red. It freaks the guy out just long enough for him.
Well, it hits him in the gun and knocks the gun out of his hand.
No, he shoots the gun out of his hand.
Yeah, he throws the bottle first. He makes the guy kind of hesitate.
Yes.
And then, shoots the gun out of the guy's hand. Bottle is still coming at the guy's face, and the bottle hits him in the face. Falls over on the ground. Very comical. Actually, the whole episode is drawn very cartoony and funny and cute, and it's cool.
And then Chiemi's like, hey, wait a minute. I know this guy. He works for the airline. He's the guy who gave me the little keychain. And then she doesn't think any harder about it. That's it.
That's left up to us to figure out and fill in the blanks. Oh, well, this guy was in on it the whole time. They got the airlines involved with not the smuggling.
Well, basically smuggling.
No, what word did I say?
Trafficking?
Well, no, smuggling was correct. It was trafficking that we corrected it from.
Yes. So, yeah, they're basically smuggling trinkets, treasure, art objects that have been stolen, things like that. We find out there was this whole thing that's only wrapped up in like 2 lines of dialogue here at the end. And so now that everything has been solved, it's time for Chiemi to go back to her job as an airline stewardess, and Ryo's leaving.
You can't say stewardess anymore, Josh. She's a flight attendant.
Okay, fine. Flight attendant. My apologies.
Okay.
Now, you think for a second something's wrong here because Kaori is, happily waving them off like, all right, guys, have a good time. Because she knows what's coming. This whole flight, which again is courtesy of Sunline Air.
Sunline Air?
Sunrise Air.
It's courtesy of Sunrise Air.
Because they can't not have an episode with the airport and not put a Sunrise airplane there in the background.
Because, again, this show is animated by Sunrise.
Gotta remind you again.
Sunrise. They put their name on everything, including, oftentimes, the airplanes.
And we find that this whole flight, in particular, has been booked by all of Chiemi's fanboys. And they are all going on one giant group date to Paris with her.
Ryo got himself caught up in like an episode of The Bachelorette, and he didn't even know it, and he's like, oh no, you're not gonna have me stuck with all these other dudes in Paris along with you competing for your affection. Forget it. And rather than just riding the plane out to Paris,
take a nice flight out to France.
He jumps out of the plane.
He finds a parachute and jumps the hell out. And she's like, no, get back to your seat. We're taking off. Hell no. And that's the freeze frame of him jumping out of the airplane with Kaori looking kind of satisfied.
Like, he deserved it.
And that's our episode right there. I think it's kind of funny when you think about that ending of Kaori was kind of happy that Ryo wasted the money on the plane ticket.
I guess he would have had to have bought the ticket unless Chiemi was like, I'm gonna do you a solid and I will somehow ensure that you get this flight because you helped me and you saved my friend and thanks.
So at minimum, she used like a flight voucher to get him on there.
And at worst, Ryo had to buy a plane ticket. And then he immediately wasted it by jumping off.
That's awful. But actually, that's really good of Kaori that she planned that far ahead.
But also, it seems to me like she relies on both of their income. So that's her just being straight up petty. Like,
I would agree to that more so, yeah.
Like, oh, I will spend this money just to see this moment happen.
But now we're going to have a hard time eating just brick ramen for the next month.
Or more sandwiches with tomato and egg in them.
Maybe that's all they can afford now.
Yeah, they can only afford tomato and egg sandwiches.
So the moral of this episode is don't be petty.
Oh, You are not gonna get me to stop being petty.
I know. So next week we're gonna move on to some fashion in the form of swimsuits.
Oh boy, it's the swimsuit episode that all anime has.
I mean, it's not a beach episode, but there are swimsuits.
Yeah, the swimsuit episode is what they're called.
All right.
Well, also the beach episode, but swimsuits, yes, also.
Sometimes you have to differentiate. Some anime want to double dip.
That's true. That all having been said, please come back next time when we cover the 17th episode of the TV series, Summer's Beautiful Designer, Ryo's Heart Belongs to the High Cut Type.
If you want to catch us outside this podcast, you can always find us both over on Twitter. I'm at JoshKnightTheFirst.
And I'm at MarzGurl. Thank you all so much for listening to our 16th episode of MokkoriPlay. And if you don't come back next episode, I'm going to throw an ashtray at Josh while he's swimming in the pool.
That is so specific!